Welcome to our webinar on Twitter. This is the second one that Tanya Oaksmith of the UALR Bowen School of Law has done for us on Twitter. So welcome. Just a quick note about these webinars, www.cali.org. If you're interested, these webinars are for our member schools, free service to you. Every Friday, well not every Friday, but on Fridays at 3 p.m. You can check those out. And we'd love your feedback on these, and we'd love to hear suggested topics or volunteer presenters. Just shoot me an email, and you can find my email right there. You can keep up with webinar announcements for future webinars on our blog, cali.org/blog. I also keep up our Twitter and Facebook pages, which are pretty easy to find. Our handle on Twitter is Cali Law School, and for Facebook, facebook.com/cali.org. Also, we will be recording this, so if you miss part of it or if you want someone else to see it, you just go to calivideos.flip.tv, and we have all of our webinars recorded are posted there, and this one will be as well. And you can find Tanya's last one in this archive too. Upcoming webinars, November. We have a lot of great guest presenters. On November 13th, we're going to have Professor Deb Cohen and Sally Wise talk about using Cali lessons in your teaching. Then November 27th, Vernelia Randall of the University of Dayton School of Law will talk about using Moodle, which is an open source course management system. And then on December 11th, I will be talking about promoting Cali at your school, and that one's going to be mostly for Cali reps and people who want to give their students information about Cali and keep them informed about it. So throughout this webinar, we encourage you to ask questions, and you can do that there are a couple ways. One way is by raising your hand. So if you see that little hand-raising icon, go ahead and push that so I know that you can find it. I see some of you are getting that. Go ahead and push it. So throughout the webinar, any questions, you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you and you can ask the question directly to Tanya. Or there's also a chat function which you will find also in that toolbar, and you can just, or actually it's called a question, I think, question function. And you can just type your question there and then I can ask it for you. Okay, so let's get this started. Tanya, are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, I'm going to switch to your screen.
Hey, everybody. I'm glad that Austin asked me back because I felt like last time when we talked about Twitter, we just kind of glazed the surface. There are so many ways to use Twitter as a tool to develop affinity, to work on fundraising, to convince people to come to your events. I think that Twitter is an excellent tool to do all those things, and we're still just scratching the surface of what we can do with it. So I encourage you today to live tweet from this webinar. Please use Cali Tweet. I'd like to see what everybody has to say. I was at the High Ed Web Conference 2 weeks ago and was a part of the Twitter revolution against one of the speakers that we had. And you know, I feel like, I guess if I'm going to dish it out, I should be willing to take it as well. So, you know, if you guys think I'm doing horrible, let me know. If you think I'm good, then let me know too. Once again, like Austin said, I am the Director of Communications for the UALR Bowen School of Law. That's in Little Rock, Arkansas. I've been here since July. I moved over from the main campus after a career in print journalism and internal communication. Today we're going to talk about working with Twitter and basically making Twitter do what we need it to do in order to communicate to our various audiences that we have. So real quick, let's go through what Twitter is. y'all know that it's a free social networking and microblogging service. It's not been around very long, and as was announced recently, its developers, the owners of the company, are making use of research and development instead of going into figuring out how to make money from it, which I think makes it have more authenticity as a communication vehicle, especially to younger individuals. You know, we have to compact our message into 140 characters, and they're delivered to people who follow us, and then we follow people and get their information. You can restrict delivery. You know, you can block people. You can unblock people. You can get updates on your phone. You can get updates in many different ways, and you can make updates in many different ways. So that's basically just a quick wrap-up of what Twitter is. Why tweet? I hear this from a lot of our professors. They don't understand what the importance is in tweeting, and I think all we have to say is that there are so many people involved in this new communication paradigm, and I hate to use that terminology, but that's basically what it is, that we can't afford not to stay involved in it. Unique visitors increased almost 1,400% in the past year, February to February. There are 7 million people using this tool. Think about how many people that puts you in connection with, how many potential donors, how many potential students, how many alumni who have moved off and don't have contact with you anymore. So you can see the power of this medium and the potential that we have for making inroads in using it, but we have to use it the correct way. So last time we talked about just basically how to use Twitter, how to set up an account, how to go in and do tweets and retweets, and how to follow people. Today we're going to talk about basically browser tools, tools to help you find followers, to help you update your content, and then we're going to wrap up with a little talk about how we're going to use Twitter to achieve our strategic goals. Okay, I've listed here on this slide several desktop browsers and mobile browsers that I sent out a tweet and I asked my followers what browser tools they use. And these were the most popular tools that they used. I don't use all these tools. I use the ones that are listed at the top of the list. After doing some research, I realized that Tweetdeck as a desktop browser, which is pictured down there in the bottom right-hand corner, and Tweety work the best for me. That doesn't mean that they'll necessarily work the best for you, and I would encourage you to go out and search for desktop browsers and mobile browsers that would function in the way that you want them to function. Tweetdeck, for instance, for me, allows me to watch both my personal account as well as the Bow-in-Law account, because I manage both of those. It also allows me to watch the accounts of people that I'm particularly interested in. For instance, I like to see what my dean tweets because I don't manage that account. He does that himself. And so I like to see what he's putting out there. I like to see what our main campus is putting out there because we can frequently cross-promote issues between the two areas. We're located remotely from the main campus, so I don't always know what's going on over there, and they don't always know what's going on over here. But if we tweet about it, then they can help me promote events over here, and I can help them promote events over there. So right now I'm going to get out of this, and I'm going to show you guys my Tweetdeck on my desktop so we can look at it. And I have a lot of people who ask me, how do you keep up with all this stuff all the time? The Tweetdeck is one of the best tools I can find to help me keep up with this, mostly because I just open it up in the morning when I come in, and it stays open all day. You can see over here, I have the capacity, excuse me, I have the capacity to watch, and I'm pointing at the screen, I guess I should point with my mouth. I have the capacity to watch all of my followers. They're right here in the left-hand column. Next are the mentions of my particular user ID, and you can see that Austin just tweeted about the webinar right up here, and he used the hashtag, good job. In the center are my direct messages, or people who talk directly to me, and as you can see in there, was a question from a friend of mine here in town who actually does nonprofit promotion and social media for nonprofits. And so he wanted to sit in on the webinar, and I passed him along the information, kind of a back channel. Two things that I constantly run a search for are Bow and Law. I want to see what people say about us. I want to see when our name pops up and, you know, if it's negative or if it's positive. And I also run a search constantly for UALR, which is our main campus. That's the university that we are a part of. Sometimes people will mention UALR and then talk about the law school, but they won't say Bowen, so that's why I'll run those two searches at the same time. I can go in and search for anything. For instance, right now, I'm going to put a search in for Cali Tweet to see if anybody is tweeting on Cali Tweet right now. So you see up at the top, we have this toolbar up here basically that allows us to institute a search. It allows us to launch our directory. It allows us to update Twitter, or it allows us to update our Facebook or our MySpace pages at the same time. Okay, so right now I'm going to institute a search for Cali Tweet. And as you'll see, well, that's interesting. I've used a hashtag that somebody else is using. But you can see how it functions. Cali Tweet right there is obviously somebody's username. So every time Cali Tweet appears, it's going to appear in here. Now, for instance, if we wanted to do a Twitter search for, let's say, Little Rock, we can do a search for everything that's going on in Little Rock right now. See, we've got information on an event that's happening. We've got information on a court case. We've got information coming from research in 2 of our area hospitals. I find that interesting because frequently you can pick out what, you know, as a communication person, you can pick out what your news organizations are following. You can find out what's going on, and that can help you sculpt messaging and pitches to news organizations if you're working on that. Let's see.
And Tanya,
yes.
The nice thing is that these update live.
Yes,
once
absolutely. It's real time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, I mean, we say they update live, and they, in my experience, they do. However, when you have something that functions, you know, like you have something that drives a lot of, you know, tweets to something, or Twitter starts getting overloaded, you know, you get the fail well, everybody, then it helps. There's a refresh button right up here in the top left corner, and you can refresh it manually. You know, if you know that there's a tweet out there that you haven't seen pop up, for instance, you get an alert on your phone or something like that, then you can refresh it, and it manually refreshes the page. I'm going to stop right here and see, Austin, can we ask if there are any questions? Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know.
You got any thus far?
Nope, nothing right now.
I hate not to stop in the middle of, I feel like I'm going fast.
No, you're doing fine.
Okay. As you can see right up here, y'all can see both of my accounts where I'm posting. Because I post from 2 accounts, I can log in as either one of these. For instance, if I want to say from Bowen Law that I am engaged in a Twitter webinar, and post it, it will post it not from me, but from Bowen Law. And you'll see it pop up right there. So I posted that from my Bowen Law account, not from my Marley's Mom account, because I try to separate them. There are things that I will post from both accounts, but there are things that I will post from Bowen that I will not post from myself. It just depends. My followers are different, and they follow me, excuse me, for different reasons. So I try to segment populations in that way. Okay, so now, and I really wish that I could show you my Tweety mobile browser, but know that it to me is one of the best. It functions the best. They just came out with an update that's Tweety 2, and you can download either one of them right now on your iPhone. They both cost $3, and I would say that Tweety functions better in my mind than Tweety 2 does. But that's not, a re-endorsement. That's just because I have used Tweety longer than I have used Tweety 2. I know some people who use Tweetdeck because it manages multiple accounts. If you're managing a personal account, or if you're ghosting, say, for a dean or an admissions director or something like that, then you might want to look into Tweetdeck to use it. But y'all can do the research on that, because you know how you could best use the tools and have them function the way you want them to function.
Yeah, Tony, I know with Tweetdeck for the iPhone, at least, you can, once you set up your Tweetdeck on your desktop, you can also sync that to the iPhone version, which is kind of nice.
Right.
If that's something you're interested in.
Yeah. And that's, I think visually I don't like the interface of the Tweetdeck on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my thing. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the slideshow now. So we've talked about browser tools. Now let's talk a little bit about stream aggregators. As you can see right here, I've got a list of stream aggregators, and basically what the stream aggregator does is take information and bring it all together so you can look at different pieces of information together. I know I'm using the word together a lot. If somebody's talking about Bowen Law in this corner of the world, and somebody's talking about Bowen Law in the other corner of the world, then I need to know that they're talking about them. And I can't if I'm not following them on Twitter. However, if I use one of these aggregators, I'll be able to know what they're saying. In saying that, I believe that using a Twitter search or using the tools in your browser, for instance, Tweetdeck, can work the same way. You can run any search on Tweetdeck that you would run in one of these lists, or you can find trends in the same way. The one thing that I have done is download Twitter trends to my iPhone, because I like to be able to check that in real time just to see what people are talking about. It makes a cloud of frequent tweets, and you can also watch things that start to trend. That can help you when you go to talk to media. You can know what's top of their minds. You can also know what your students are watching out for. You can know what your alums are watching out for. You can know what things are important to them. For instance, if you see among your followers that there's an increase in talking about H1N1, then perhaps you might want to communicate a little bit more to them about your school's planning for swine flu. You know, that kind of thing. So that's the value that I see in a stream aggregator. But I also see that if you're just starting out, explore the search functions in your browser and see how those work and see if those don't make sense to you to use. One thing I can say about a lot of these Twitter tools is that they're free. It doesn't cost anything to try them. Just like Twitter's free, most of these things are just sitting out there. They're waiting for people to improve them, and they're waiting for people to use them and then report feedback. So, you know, it's revolutionary, really. Other Twitter tools that are out there that can help us manage content and bring more interactive content into the picture include things like TweetPic, which is a tool, and it's just twitpic.com, that allows you to upload pictures to your Twitter account. Now you can do it with Tweety on your iPhone or your mobile device, but from your desktop, if you've got a picture sitting on your desktop and you'd like to upload it, you can do it with Tweetdeck, or you can do it with TweetPic. And you just log into that the same way as you would log into your Twitter account. They're integrated. Tweetio is the same thing with video. WeFollow allows you to kind of put keywords on your Twitter account. For instance, I have marketing and social media and public relations on my Twitter account as WeFollow tags, and they will help you if you go to the site and you'd like to find people who engage in social media for law schools, for instance. Then you can look for that kind of individual. It's almost like an encyclopedic biography that you assign to yourself. You know, so that's a free participation, and that's a way to find followers, which is important, as we all know, because if you're sitting out there and you don't have any followers, then there's nobody to hear your message. Mr. Tweet is kind of like in Facebook, where they recommend people who have the same kind of connections that you have, people you should follow. That's what Mr. Tweet does. Mr. Tweet watches who you follow and who follows you, and the stream is integrated so that they can make periodic recommendations on people you should be watching. TwitterGrader is very interesting for Twitter users because it goes in and it looks at the number of tweets you make in a day, the number of retweets you get, and it compares you to other users. It compares your number of followers to the number of people who are following you, and it kind of puts you on a Twitter continuum. It allows you to see how effective you are as a user. One of the most interesting things about TwitterGrader is that it compares you to the people who actually invented the Twitter tool. So you can see, and I think I ran my numbers through it yesterday, and this is kind of scary. I tweet 61% more than the people who made the tool. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And then Quitter. Quitter is an interesting tool if you're trying to, if you notice a drop-off in followers, you can run your user ID through Quitter, and be able to tell who has quit, when they quit, and what you tweeted about around the time that they quit. So say, for instance, that I'm tweeting obnoxiously about my cats. And I don't think it's obnoxious because it's my cat, and I love my cat. but I noticed that people have stopped following me, then Twitter reinforces the point that maybe I shouldn't talk so much about my cats. Or say, for instance, if you're talking a lot on your institutional account about one organization and you get a drop-off in students, then you're able to tell that maybe I should pay more attention to this student organization and balance out how I'm passing along information to other students. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions now, Austin?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Can you show us the TwitPic integration with Tweetdeck?
With Tweetdeck?
Yeah. Just how that works.
Okay. See right here? Has it caught up, Austin? I'm sorry, I went through that really fast.
Yeah, it's
My Tweetdeck?
yeah, I can see Tweetdeck.
Okay. Right here, I have my Tweetdeck open. I'm logged in. Right here in the upper right corner, you can click on Upload a Photo, and it opens up a file where I can go and find, for instance, I'm just going to tweet something. I have on my desktop a series of, I'll tweet a picture from we had the swearing in this morning of our new people who passed the bar. So I'll tweet a picture from that. So there we upload to TwitPic. Right there, see, that's the picture I chose. It's of our Dean of Career Services and one of our recent grads and recent bar passers. Okay, so that's uploading it to TwitPic. Okay, and now it gives me a URL right there in the post bar that allows me to post almost like a caption. That's what I would say. Dean Diana Kinsey and a recent grad. Okay, so I'm posting that this is Dean Diana Kinsey and a recent grad from the ABA event this morning, the Arkansas Bar Association. And I'm going to post it from Bowen Law. I'm not going to post it from my personal account. Okay, so there. I hit enter, and it posts. And there it goes. And see, now everybody who follows Bowen Law is able to open it up and see the picture. And you guys can see it too. Are there any other questions, Austin?
Not at the moment. Yeah, I encourage you to leave a question if you do that question function if you have one.
Okay. All right, so, okay, we talked about the Twitter tools. Let's go back to the slideshow. And I promised that at the end of this we'd talk about, real quick, exactly why we use Twitter and how we can use Twitter to achieve strategic goals. We have several strategic goals this year. One of them is increasing the number of connections we have with alumni and the amount of communication that we pass along about our schools so that the visibility of our school gets up. That's all tied into communication. We also have a strategic goal to increase the satisfaction of students, to make our learning environment more student-centered, because that's what it's all about, is making sure that our students get the best law education that they can. All this is centered, focused on reducing uncertainty. We didn't talk last time I came to talk about any kind of theory, but I am getting my master's in communication, applied communication studies, so I feel like I have to talk about a little theory. And I think that everybody's familiar with Berger's uncertainty reduction theory, but it's based on a series of 7 axioms. And basically what it comes down to is that as we give people more information, they are more satisfied with their experience. Their uncertainty decreases, and their ability to give us information increases. So it becomes a circular thing where we find what can help them achieve their goals. If we can show them exactly what they need to know, if we can tell them what they need to know, then they feel more comfortable with us. They're more satisfied. They can go out into the world and they can talk positively about their experiences with us. And I think that that's what we all want to do, regardless of if we're teaching or if we're working in communication or if we're working in career services. It does not matter. We want everybody who comes out of our institutions to be able to say, I had a good experience, I learned a lot, they helped me get a job, I'm going to come back and I'm going to be an evangelist for my institution. So that's basically what we're trying to do with Twitter. We use Twitter here in a number of ways. We promote events. If we have lunches for students, we promote those. We promote training sessions for our faculty and staff. We promote every event we can think of here and on the main campus that people might be interested in. We share news and information on your school. For instance, this morning, I'm not exactly sure how the bar took it, but I tweeted from the swearing in this morning. That may have, I didn't see anybody else do it, but I think that that's an important thing for current members of the bar, graduates, to know that we're still producing quality students, that we're still helping create professionals for the legal community. If you get a big donation, that's a cool thing to tweet because that inspires people to think about the possibility of making a donation. It inspires firms to think about the possibility of making a donation because that's free advertisement for them. We can also tie Twitter to Facebook, LinkedIn, other social media. For instance, if something, I have Facebook and Twitter tied in so that if something is posted to Facebook, then it's going to be posted to Twitter at the same time from the Bowen Law account. And that's really easy. When you create your fan page, it's in your preferences. You can go in and automatically update. It just functions basically like an RSS feed. Other social media, you can do the same thing. If you have a blog, you can tie it in and automatically update your Twitter account when you post a new blog posting. Those posts can help drive traffic, specifically the news and the social media, to your homepage or your blogs. One of our part of our tactical approach to our strategic goals this year is to encourage all of our deans to blog. Well, when they blog, we post an update to our Twitter account so that the individuals who follow us know that they're posting new content out there, whether it has to do with jobs or studying for the bar or what fundraising events we're having. Or our dean talks about, he's a constitutional law professor, so he talks about con law on his blog frequently. One of the biggest new areas, and I think is a very interesting area for research, is emergency notifications. If you can encourage your students by promoting the fact that you have a Twitter account to follow you, then you can push emergency notifications in a way that they will be able to get them. It's like if you have a text messaging system, for your emergency notifications, then it's another layer. And everybody knows that if we have an emergency at school or we have to cancel classes for some reason, there are not too many ways to let people know that something's going on, that they should be aware of. Using a multi-layered approach, we are able to reach more individuals quicker and make the message suited to them. I just want to say, remember that more information reduces uncertainty, and that's what we're all after, whether we're in class or whether we're trying to get people to give us money. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Connie, do you know of anyone who's using the Twitter updates for emergency notification purposes?
We have been, I will not say that, because knock wood, we have not had an emergency. But it is part of the communication plan that we have to communicate using Twitter. In addition to using the standard text messaging that we use, the website updates that we use, sending out normal press releases, that kind of thing, we have been using, it's not an emergency, but it's the same kind of function to talk about H1N1 and coming to get your vaccinations and where you can go to get your vaccinations. It's a good dry run for a situation where you kind of have to go into autopilot in order to communicate effectively with individuals. Sure. So right now, off the cuff, the CDC is using Twitter. The Arkansas Department of Health also has a Twitter feed that they update with information on changes in the status of H1N1, infection. So while we haven't experienced a full-blown emergency, I can say that that's definitely in our emergency plan.
Okay. Another question here. How do you balance between well, first of all, do you keep up UALR's Facebook page?
I do not keep up the main. I used to keep up the main Facebook page when I was on the main campus. I do maintain the Bowen Schools Facebook page, which is our college's Facebook page.
Right, right.
So how do I...
Yeah, how do you balance between what goes up on Twitter, how to decide...
How to decide where it goes.
Right, right. But there's so many outlets for each message that you can use.
Right, right.
What's the method for deciding what gets put up on Facebook, or do they go up on both, or how do you do that? And this is just my approach. I think that every communication person has to look at the needs of the audiences that you're talking to. And for instance, an event that is held at school for our students is not necessarily of interest to our graduates. So I will update Facebook. I won't update LinkedIn, because I think that maybe that to me is the dividing line. LinkedIn is a more professional, job-oriented type site than Facebook is. Facebook is younger to me and more current in school right now. So a current event, for instance, Monday is our deadline for externship applications. So I went and updated Facebook, which automatically updated Twitter. Posted an event out there that the deadline was Monday at 4. It updated Twitter automatically, but I didn't update the LinkedIn site because that's not something that a graduate can take advantage of. That is what I have done is define which audience watches which medium the most. Right.
And then you look at what message you're sending out. For instance, when we have our scholarship fundraising luncheon, I will post a few pictures on Facebook. I will publish more on our website, and I will link LinkedIn to our website.
Mm-hmm.
Because the graduates will see themselves on there. And we'll have a few students there, but they won't necessarily see themselves at the scholarship luncheon yet. But hopefully by putting a few pictures out there, we'll plant a seed that, when they become successful attorneys, they're going to want to come back and give back.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's always the interesting thing for me as I keep up all these things is what goes where, and it's because there's so many outlets for each message that.
And I think
it's interesting to see how someone decides that.
Right, and I think that it comes down to, it would be nice. Most of these things can be integrated.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to make the decision on whether it's valuable to integrate everything that you've got.
Right.
And it's not necessarily valuable to integrate every channel you have because you're talking to people who have different needs for information.
Right. Yep. Okay, do we have any other questions? None right now.
Okay.
All right.
So I've got one more slide for you guys. I know I've bored you by talking. So hopefully everybody here now has an account, but if you don't have an account, go set up your account and just start out with a personal account and play, and then set your institutional account up and work it that way. But now that you've established your account, follow me, and on my account and on the Bowen Law account, you will see deans and lawyers and other schools, people who follow us, and you'll be able to follow them, and then they can follow you back, and it becomes really viral, and we can all pass information back and forth. And I will be doing this so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. Pick an event at your school this upcoming week. The National Pro Bono Celebration is this next week, so it's tied really well. I didn't realize that, Austin, when I decided which week I wanted to do this. It's cool. And I'm sure that most schools have something going on for the Bar Association's Pro Bono Celebration Week. We have several events. We'll be streaming a panel discussion on pro bono work. We will be unveiling a portrait of a significant donor to our clinic program here. I'll be live tweeting from those events, and I will also be posting pictures, and we'll have video on Ustream that I'll link to. Create a hashtag and work through the event. Until you start using the tools, you can't see how they function. We're going to use Bowen Pro Bono for ours, so everything that we tweet in the next week that has to do with the National Pro Bono Celebration is going to have Bowen Pro Bono on. And you guys, when you do this, we'll do a Follow Friday the next week. And I thought it was really cool after the last one because my Follow Friday stretched into like 3 posts for everybody who worked on the following and the retweeting and things. So we'll get a Follow Friday going during the first week of November for everybody who tweets a pro bono celebration or something going on from their school for the next week. And even if you don't have a pro bono celebration, I know that our school seems like every day they have a bake sale or a get-together for one of our student orgs, or you can even go out and find students sitting outside in the nice fall air and take a picture of that. That can all tie into recruitment. So that's my assignment. And I'll be doing it. So.
Okay, hey, Tanya?
Yes.
We have another question.
Okay, cool.
Are there any schools that you follow or that you keep up with who use Twitter that you kind of look at for best practices or, as a good example of another school?
I think a good example would be I look at other schools, but not necessarily other law schools.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that we are on, and I hate to say this, but we may be behind the curve a little bit as far as using Twitter as a tool to work with students and other important stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
And I have people that I follow. I follow Todd Sanders, who is T-Sand, at T-Sand. He works at Wisconsin Green Bay, and they have an account that's really active. I follow Rachel Rubin, and if you guys, are involved, in Twitter, you'll know these individuals. The dean, my dean, of course, J.M. DePippa, is a very active tweeter, and he uses it to communicate with other deans. The dean of the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville School of Law also tweets, and she's very active, posts several times a day, a lot on decisions that have been made in courts, which I find interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people find really interesting. So those are just a few, and y'all are welcome to look at my followers list and kind of scam on them. That's fine. And most of the people who work in higher ed, just not specifically in law schools, are willing to answer questions. I would say that following the .edu guru feed is good. That's a group of individuals who work in different areas of higher ed web work, and so you'll get a broad sense of what people are doing not only in social media but in the integration of online education. You run from one spectrum to the other. You get people who are very technical and people who work on content. So that's very helpful. And then there's a Ning site. I don't know how many people are familiar with Ning, probably more now than used to be, for higher ed web professionals that I think is helpful to watch, and you'll find a lot of people and schools to watch there as well as followers.
Mm-hmm. And I'll add, if you're interested in finding law schools that are using Twitter, the blog Social Media Law Student
Mm-hmm.
has a huge list.
Yeah, they do have a list of people.
Pretty much every law school that is using Twitter. So if you Google Social Media Law Student list of law schools or something like that, it's going to be one of the first things that comes up, and it has pretty much every law school who's using it. So, and that's a real good blog too for law schools. It's Social Media Law Student.
Are you still on my?
Yeah, coming up.
Okay. There you guys go.
Yeah, that's the site, and the list is a past post that he's done. I'm not sure exactly
Ooh.
But yeah, so it's a good list. I definitely recommend it. Okay, yeah, we're running kind of long here, it looks like. So.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Party. Anyway, thanks Austin. Thanks everybody for listening to me. Here's your list right here, if everybody can see.
Yep.
This is an area of great passion for me. So I think that Twitter has the capacity to make changes, big, huge scale changes with just 140 characters. So.
Yep. And Tanya, thanks so much for doing this again.
Not a problem.
Did a great job. And look for this to be posted at calivideos.blip.tv if you want to go back and review it. And Tanya, anything else to add?
I think that's it. Haven't I talked enough?
No, thank you. It was very good. All right. We'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks, everybody.